Okay. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can see us and hear us. Welcome to Blogging Theology Academy. I'm here today. Okay, just switched off my echo there. Apologies for that. I'm here obviously with Hassan Spiker, who is the Dean of Blogging Theology Academy. Salam alaikum to you, Hassan.
Wa alaikum assalam, Paul.
Good to see you. And we're here today together to talk about the advanced diploma course that we're running on the Blogging Theology Academy, to talk about what it is. There's two parts to it. It's two courses really for the advanced diploma, what it consists of, how one applies, and to answer any questions you have or any comments you have about it, just so we can really explain in more detail what it's all about. So that's why we're having this live stream today. So assalamu alaikum, everyone. I can see lots of people left comments. Thank you very much for that. So as we will begin, we're going to show you soon a short video that we made, especially made for Blogging Theology Academy, to highlight this course, and some short courses as well, but also rolling out at the moment. But salam alaikum, everyone. God, there's so many of you. Salam to you all. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for coming along. So Hassan, perhaps you could just briefly explain what this advanced diploma is all about, please.
Well, the advanced diploma was motivated in one of the most important motivations, certainly for the advanced diploma, was the seminary-dominated state of Islamic education that is now very, very widely available to Muslims online. And it's not that that's a bad thing. The fact that most Islamic education is focused on what initiates would call the ulum, that you might call Islamic studies, but we're talking about traditional Islamic studies, ranging from what you'd call fard ayn, which is kind of very basic Islamic knowledge that everyone should really already know, but very, very largely because of our circumstances today as an ummah, especially kind of diasporic circumstances as Muslims, we tend to not have that basic knowledge. Ranging from that to some fairly advanced and fairly intricate explorations of the Islamic sciences like usul al-fiqh, like tafsir, and like hadith, and so on. And that's absolutely laudable. What we're doing should in no way be interpreted as a criticism of all of that activity going on. It's really overwhelmingly a wonderful thing, because it didn't exist 30 or 40 years ago. It wasn't so widely available. Now it's everywhere. It's at anyone's fingertips, and this is really, really important knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
However, the issue that we see with the scene, as it were, is that there is this kind of gap. There's this kind of disconnect, I should say, between this Islamic knowledge, which is rooted in divine revelation and allows you to have this kind of theocentric view of the world, which is becoming very, very rare in today's world, and in other religions indeed. There's a very comprehensive view of life and so on. But there's a disconnect between the way that it's formulated and the actual on-the-ground philosophical, theological, scientific, cultural, social problems that we're facing today as an ummah in these embedded contexts. And it's not just in the West, although I suppose primarily our student base is in the West, but it's by no means limited to that. But it's really all around the world. And this is as the result of all sorts of different factors. And I would never use this as an opportunity for some cheap advertising, but a lot of the reasons are detailed in this very humble book. and very attractively priced, by the way. But in any case, you know, a lot of it is Western encroachment, colonial encroachment. And you know, in the period of colonialism, there was an imposition, sometimes tacit, sometimes very explicit, of really a different worldview that didn't emerge organically from the Muslim world onto the Muslim world. It was this imposition. And so, you know, basically, why is it called the advanced diploma in the Western tradition, Islamic philosophy and theology? What we want to do is we want to bridge that gap. We want to overcome that disconnect so that, you know, as Paul likes to say, we're not straw manning the Western tradition. We're not straw manning the context that we find ourselves in. That really, you know, we want to be empowered in this time as Muslims, and that has the opposite effect. When we straw man, we kind of, you know, we have a kind of temporary sugar rush, and then you know you feel awful because you didn't really do anything of any benefit to anyone. You just made yourself feel better that, oh, that's not really a threat, you know, Christianity, you know, rubbish type of thing. And it's the same with philosophy. We very often like to dismiss real challenges because we you know, we heard Sheikh so and so, you know, kind of his latest cliche about, you know, Western philosophy, and that's kind of suffices us. We're like, well, as long as we repeat a catchphrase about how, you know, about whatever issue it is, the problem of evil or atheism or whatever, then that's fine. But the problem with that is because there's no real mastery of our context. There's no real mastery of the Western tradition. When we get into any more serious conversation, or if it happens to be, you know, a real issue that we have with our own iman on a deeper level, when, you know, perhaps it's fine, we don't have to explore or be capable of dealing with more profound problems as long as everything is going fine in our lives and we're praying and we're going to work and we're, you know, everything's going, is pretty much going well. But, you know, then, you know, we might have we have a major crisis in our life, and we start really thinking about things in a much more urgent way and in a deeper way about the real truth of the matter. And, you know, is my commitment to Islam really, you know, is my commitment to Islam really something that I can 100% remain committed to throughout my life, given, you know, overwhelmingly difficult circumstances? What about this disconnect suddenly between my conviction and my environment? Right? There are certain moments where we might find us, and this is happening all the time these days because of the difficulty of the environment and because of the kind of weakness in our worldview, where, you know, people are living in a state of confusion and real difficulty because they don't really know how to deal with the fundamental questions which are bothering them. Now, you know, we're convinced that a lot of that is to do with, you know, this kind of disconnect, which is very secular in a funny way, between Islamic education, you know, and I mean, what I mean by secular is a kind of separating of these different orders. You've got everyday life and university education, and then you've got Islamic education. But what is going to make them both make sense within a single worldview? I could waffle on forever, but, you know.
No, I mean that's helpful. So you're saying there's this kind of disconnect between the Islamic seminary on the one hand, and that's its own preoccupation, which is perfectly fine, you're saying. On the other hand, we have the Western hegemony, the dominance of secularism, secular liberalism in the academy and in many fields of science and other really important disciplines. And what we're doing at the Blogging Theology Academy Advanced Diploma is somehow bridging this gap. So we're not, as I say, we're not straw manning Western understandings of, say, philosophy or theology or Christianity, whatever. We're trying to understand it in its depth, in what it really says, but also offering an Islamic metaphysical critique to that. So respecting the otherness of it, but also not just letting it rule the day and have the last word. We want to offer that Islamic critique of it as well. And the advanced diploma goes towards doing that. And the advanced diploma is actually composed of 2 complementary cutting edge courses. There's the one led by Hassan, Metaphysics and Logic in the Islamic and Western traditions. We can go into that in a second. And then one led by myself is called The Bible and Early Christianity, the Western.
That's the cutting edge course.
Yes, there's the historical critical method, understanding what that is, because the West operates according to certain assumptions about the nature of history, about what can and can't happen. For example, it has quite a secular view. So we look at that, and as I say, early Christianity and the Bible and so on, and we understand it and we critique it, and also see how it relates to Islam as well, and we can go into that a little bit as well. So that's there are 2 courses, and they're both intrinsic. They're both, at the heart of the one advanced diploma. So one does both courses, not one or the other. I think that's a very, very interesting introduction. Now, can we just address? I'm just looking for the 1 or 2 questions. Actually, there was one very practical question. I'll just put it on the screen here. Assalamu alaikum. What's the course rhythm? I don't know. How many hours per week? It's a very practical question. So how many hours a week are students expected to participate on this course, and what days does it happen? Do you want to tackle that as well, Hassan?
Yes. Wa alaikum salam, good guy. It's 2 hours a week of live lectures for Paul's course and 2 hours a week of live lectures for my course. And that might have been a little bit confusing the way that I stated it. It's not that there's more than 1 lecture from each course. There's only 1 lecture a week from each course. So you got 1 2-hour lecture from Paul every week and 1 2-hour lecture from me. Now, these 2 lectures take place on different days. Paul's course is on Saturdays, mine is on Sundays. It's at a very, very carefully chosen time, which manages to unite people who are in North America and people in Europe. And, it gets a bit dodgy when we get as far as kind of Malaysia and Australia, unfortunately. And there's just not really any way to deal with that. But we still had quite a few students from Australia and Malaysia last year. Now we are already, getting towards being oversubscribed. Our admission cycle has been open for a long, long time. There are still spaces available, but we've got about 40 people registered and enrolled rather right now. And if that grows between now and the end of the admission cycle a lot, I mean, if that doubles, for example, then we're looking into having a second group who will have a live lecture which takes place at a time that we'll vote on, literally, with the students to try to get something that really works for everyone. But one of the ideas we had was that there would be, we'd see if we could divide the students into those who had professional 9-to-5 commitments, and that would, they'd have the weekends, and then those who might have a more open schedule, whether they're students, whatever it happens to be students elsewhere, and we've had many of those, and that's another thing we could discuss, is the kind of professional student balance thing, and that would be midweek. But the point being that we do our absolute utmost to make sure that everyone's well catered for in terms of timings for the live lectures, which is very, very important, by the way, because these, we really, from the outset, we've really wanted to avoid the tendency of some online offerings to have this kind of anonymous energy. We really get to know all of our students. We have, outside of the live lectures, office hours, one-on-one office hours, one-on-one tutorials, which are available every week, where we explore, material that we've covered in the live lectures in a much more student-directed designed way. It's kind of tailored to each individual student, because what you can do is basically explore in more depth something that you wanted to pursue in the live lectures, and you can't, because there's obviously 30 other people there. You can to a certain extent, because obviously it's all live. I don't want to give it's not live streamed. It's not like you're sitting there inertly. It's there's a lot of interaction going.
Yeah, it's very interactive. Students are encouraged to talk, and obviously all their cameras must be on, unless there's a pressing reason not to, of course. So everyone can see everyone else, but there is no recorded content that we inflict on people. They are recorded for the archives, and in case people can't attend, but it is all live, and we have one-to-one tuition. Based on the Oxford or Cambridge model as well, called office hours, which people are expected to participate in. So this is quite unique, I think. Everything is quite personal, and we'd like to develop a relationship with the students. We like to get on very well, have a very good atmosphere, which is open and critical in the best sense, and intellectually engaged. And we have other things, like we have dedicated WhatsApp groups. So there'll be one for myself and one for Hassan, where we're able to almost daily, actually, people can post questions or make comments or discuss things. And on my WhatsApp group, this is for the last academic year, very happy to interact, discuss, and explore subjects.
You say daily, Paul, but it was about 200 times a day on your WhatsApp.
Well, yes, he was. He got a bit busy, but which is cool. It was great fun, actually. So that's very live and interactive, and that's just dedicated to that part of that course, the Bible and Christianity, the historical critical method in Islam, that I head up. And Hassan has a course, as I say, Metaphysics and Logic in the Islamic and Western traditions, and he has his WhatsApp group as well. So that's another unique feature of that. But we have another question here. Be great to address some of these. How many weeks and from when to when? So the advanced diploma begins in April. What's the date, Hassan? In April?
Saturday, the 12th of April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That then extends on for 13 weeks. And there's then a summer break, and it then extends on for another, well, precisely how many is still to be determined, because we're obviously working on we're putting the finishing touches to a student handbook, which updates the student handbook from last year, and that has the full calendar. But then about another 12 weeks, and then there's another short break, and then the term ends. And there are details that I'm missing out. But anyway, the point is, it's 13 weeks and 13 weeks. You're not asking
about basically 2 terms, which I think more on the American model, perhaps. I'm not sure, but
yeah, that is it's a common model in America. They do have 3-term universities in America, but most of them are 2 terms and 13 weeks. It's not like what we have at Cambridge, which is 3 terms of 8 weeks each and really long holidays, and then very, very intensive activity during term time.
So someone has asked, Zainab Karim has asked, I've sent a direct mail through Instagram. Do you usually answer there? I will get it, but thank you. I will look at that later on once I'm off the live stream. But this is on the screen there, the preferred way of contacting us, admissions@bloggingtheologyacademy.com. That's the email address, admissions@bloggingtheologyacademy.com, where our head of admin, Ahmed, will be able to respond to your queries about that, if that's okay with you. Thank you. So admissions@bloggingtheology.com. So I'm just going to just check for any more. It's a good question. AS says, I thought the academy was focused on theology and philosophy. What was it thinking on adding AI course to that? Well, we are also, in addition to our flagship course, the advanced diploma, rolling out much shorter courses headed up by world leaders in their respective subjects. on a number of subjects. So artificial intelligence, we got one on Islamic psychology, we have on a whole range of subjects. We're rolling this out over the coming weeks and months. So that's why these are complementary. They're in addition to the flagship, which is basically a year's course, nearly a year. These are much shorter. Some of them are 6 weeks, some of them are 8 weeks, some of them a bit longer. Go to the website, Blogging Theology academy.com, and you'll see them all mentioned there in detail. So we are primarily focused on theology and philosophy, but we're also now focused on these other courses as well. And they are run by, as I say, leading experts, actually, globally. I'll just go through some of them now. So we have AI development for Muslims, which is an extraordinary course. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that, Hassan?
The AI. Absolutely. We've got Dr. Yaqub Chowdhury. He is really one of the top people working today in the philosophical implications of AI. And he's himself an Imperial College trained physicist. He did his PhD there. And he then spent 2 years working as a researcher in AI at Cambridge Muslim College, I believe. He worked with various top think tanks and so on, one connected directly to the University of Cambridge. He's a master both of the technical aspects and the philosophical aspects. That's what's so rare about it. If you want to take a field forward, even outside of a specifically Islamic context, it's not enough to simply have a great mastery of the technical aspects. One has to understand how this relates ultimately as a human endeavor to everything else. What is its most fundamental importance? So actually, it's a myth that it's only the technical aspects that lead to great advances. It's really, really important that you understand how this arises from and is embedded in and relates to your larger worldview. And this is even more important for Muslims. And I think there is a great disconnect. I mean, you ask, also I think in your question, what was the thinking on adding these courses? I mean, I think part of the thinking was, well, we as Muslims are so widely engaged in so-called STEM subjects. But you speak to students, and by the way, in our advanced diploma, I've never counted exactly, but it seems like about half the people are STEM professionals. We've got people who with PhDs, and we had someone with a PhD in computational biology from Harvard who was working in some sort of advanced technology related to that field. And yet, and you heard this again and again, we had someone working, as head of AI and the NHS and things, but they didn't understand. There was this kind of big disconnect, bifurcation, if you will, in their life between their Islamic practice and faith and these very, very, sophisticated mathematical, instrumental kind of, scientific application areas that they were working in. And the reality is these are not simply totally separate spheres. There's a history there. There's a philosophy there. There's a reason why science developed in the way that it did. Now, what we don't want to focus on the narrowly philosophical. We want to also embrace the technical. And that's why Dr. Yaqub's course, for example, is, his pledge is that if you have more of a philosophical ability when it comes to AI, into more of a philosophical interest rather in AI, then he's going to initiate you into the technical aspects. And if you're coming with really a technical mastery but little idea about the philosophy of it, he's going to work on that specifically with you. And that's why the kind of mentoring aspect of BTA is so unique and so important. The one-on-one tuition alongside the group lectures. So that repeats. We've also got Professor Joseph Lombard, amazing course. I'm really looking forward to it, called Decolonizing Islamic Studies. Yes. Really at the absolute forefront of that whole area, which is extremely interesting. You've got Dr. Francesca I'm not going to try pronouncing her last name, actually.
Francesca Bocca. She's a renowned neuroscientist. She's got a PhD in neuroscience from a leading German university. She's also an Islamic theologian with years of research excellence and practical expertise. And her short course is called an Islamic psychology diploma, basically. And she has academic accreditation diploma in that as well. She's a brilliant scholar. She's Italian. She's a revert herself, an astonishingly brilliant young academic, actually, with multiple areas of expertise. But she'll be heading up that short course on Islamic psychology, not Islam and psychology, as so many Western secular courses would have you believe. It is Islamic psychology, which is a different thing. It's a different thing. So it's both academically rigorous, rooted in science, but also from an Islamic metaphysical perspective, rather than a secular perspective, because these are not neutral perspectives. The secular perspective is not neutral. It is laden with assumptions about the nature of the human being. So it would deny the soul created by God in us. Islamic psychology obviously accepts that as a fact of our natures, that we have souls that come from God, we're created by God. This can make a big difference to how we understand healing and counseling, the nature of wholeness and well-being in the human subject. So Dr. Francesca, that particular short course is very popular. A lot of people have signed up for it, but it's still open. When's that starting? Is in May, I think, isn't it? May this year?
May, yeah.
Yep. So if you go on the website, the Blogging Theology Academy .com website, you can see the Islamic psychology diploma. You can apply there as well directly. And just coming back to Dr. Yaqub Chowdhury, he's actually an academic at Cambridge University. I'm just scrolling down here. If you go on to the bloggingtheologyacademy.com website, you can see a whole page dedicated to him. Be mentored by a world expert on AI. Applications are now open for BT Academy's world-leading AI course. And Dr. Chowdhury, and you click on the link there, and it goes straight to the University of Cambridge's own website. And you'll see his biography, his credentials. He has a PhD in physics from Imperial College London, which is one of the top 10 universities in the world. He has a fellowship at the Cambridge Muslim College and so on. And his expertise is in artificial intelligence, both the detailed, technical, mathematical, practical side, as well as the Islamic perspective, the understanding its philosophical and metaphysical dimensions. So he has both. But so I do recommend that. Perhaps we'll just go through a couple more questions. This is a good one. Ali Forza, what are you looking for in your students? Assalamu alaikum to you. I love your YouTube channel, by the way, Ali. It's very successful. If people are not familiar with her work, please have a look. Just Google her name on YouTube and check out her work. What are you looking for in your students? Should we at least have an undergraduate degree? Well, Hassan, you're doing your PhD at University of Cambridge. What do you think the answer to that is?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, Alia. I'm very much looking forward to our discussion later this Ramadan. So what are we looking for in students? Someone like you, really, I'd say. And do you have to have an undergraduate degree? It's not a requirement. It does say on our website that it's preferred. And I'm almost reluctant even to say that. But I suppose, if you have an undergraduate degree in philosophy or theology, or indeed something else that you're really passionate about and you've done really well in, then I suppose that can be an added plus from many different angles. But it's not in any way a strict requirement for us. What is a strict requirement for us is having a real passion for philosophy and theology. Yeah. And I think if you have and I would say aptitude as well. But the thing is, people might get worried about this. Well, I don't know if I have an aptitude. Well, if you've got a passion, then you probably have an aptitude as well, or at least you will have one eventually. So that's really our philosophy about it. I mean, it's not, we don't believe in strict requirements because we are in a fundamental way outside of that system. It's not that we don't respect certain things about that system, and many things, but we're not bound by that, the dictates of that system. There are many, many people out there who may not have had the opportunity to acquire an undergraduate degree who are just perfect for our course. And we've experienced that more than once. So it's not a strict requirement. Yeah.
I agree. If someone has the clear, well, we interview. This is an important point. We do actually interview people. We did a series of interviews last week for this course, so it's not automatic acceptance. You have to demonstrate a great interest. It might sound a bit obvious, but there has been interest in both courses, a willingness to learn, and a certain aptitude which would become quite obvious, I think, in conversation. So we're not necessarily looking for actual technical qualifications. If you have those interests and aptitude and passion for the subject, then that more than not certainly qualifies people, I think, for the course. So thanks for that great question. I think at this point it might be nice just to play our short video, which we're rather proud of, actually. Let me just okay. I'm just going to okay, see if I can get it up on the screen, which I should be able to. Okay, will this work? Yes. Okay. So if I make that into the large, let's just play this. This is our video which we created last month in February with a very gifted and award-winning film director. We filmed it at Cambridge University, and it's just a couple of minutes long, and I think it might be just fun to play it at this stage, at this juncture.
All of the sciences point to the same metaphysical reality, and they ultimately point to God. At BTA, we recover a metaphysical vision which was really standard and basic in Islamic civilization. It's the idea that all of the sciences are integrated. You can't have them off on their own, isolated and fragmented, the way that you have in the modern university, the hyper specialist who just knows everything there is to know about physics but can't understand anything else.
But quite shocking that there was this gap in the education system, actually, which inshallah we will fulfill.
One of the things we do on the course that I teach is to look in detail without straw-manning the West, without straw-manning New Testament scholarship, understanding it in all its depth and breadth, and then looking at the Quran and the Islamic tradition and what it says. And in my view, this points to the divine origin of the Quran, that it gets Jesus exactly right. And that's one of the things we explore in depth on the course.
Right. Oh, look at this. What we're trying to do with the short courses is expand beyond the explicitly theological to all of the most important areas of modern life. So it's AI and AI development, but from an Islamic metaphysical viewpoint. It's Islamic history, it's Western history, it's comparative psychology, even video game design. We have an executive from PlayStation.
When you told me we had someone from PlayStation, I couldn't believe it. But it's actually...
Yeah, but I mean, that's how broad the scope is now with what we're doing with the short courses. There was a messenger sent to all peoples, and as such, you find an extraordinary openness in Muslim civilization to seeing truth as one.
It's also very fascinating because it takes in many disciplines: history and theology, languages, textual criticism, and also the contemporary world. Religion is still a powerful force politically, socially in the world today. So it's incredibly relevant and also very intellectually interesting and challenging as well. So what's not to like about it?
The point of BTA is to empower young Muslim students, to give them the tools to not be on the defensive, to exist in their modern context with an extraordinary degree of confidence.
You said lots of things there about what I've been wrestling with for many, many years.
Wow.
You've got a magnificent angle on it, and as very kind basis, mate. Just a magnificent exploration of where Christ and God and the Trinity actually sits.
Oh, well said. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you anyway. Let's just talk to you. Yeah, thank you. What's your name?
I'm Gary.
Gary, I'm Paul. Nice to meet you, Gary.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Oh, it's rather. I still find it very touching watching that. It was great.
Yeah,
Great.
it is.
I must say. It was great fun. It was very cold that day, but it was great fun filming it, I must say. So we have some more questions. So this is Zainab Karim. How much is the fee for the course? And can we perhaps explain a bit about the fee structure, why it's pegged at the level it is? Because there is a rationale for it as well. Is that something you could tackle?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I should say we've had many scholarship students who didn't pay anything at all. We've actually always tailored the fees to the individual. So, very often people will apply and they'll say in their personal statement, I have such and such circumstances. This is not really within my reach. And we always engage with that. It's not like we dismiss that kind of personal statement. We're not in it strictly for the money. The reason we have to charge is because we don't, which I think is a good thing, we don't take any funding from any external body whatsoever. That's actually very, very rare. It gives us a total and complete freedom to teach what we want to teach in the way that we want to teach it. We do need to charge for operational costs, obviously. Now, how much does the course cost? It's without any fee reductions or which were often available. I mean, they've been available for about the last 5 months in one form or another, up to 20%. But without those, it's $5,800 for the entire year, or £4,600, so 5,800, £4,600 British pounds for the entire year. There are usually large fee reductions available if you pay up front. Otherwise, the termly payment, which is, I'd say, just about the most popular payment choice, although a lot of people pay for the whole year up front. The termly would be £2,300 a term, or for 13 weeks, including all of the one-on-one tutorials and the live lectures, and going through your essays. Each of us, you have to produce an essay for Paul every term. You have to produce an essay for me every term, and we go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and then have a tutorial with you about it. And the idea, on that is to really help you have a big leap in your progress from one term, from the first term to the second, to the end of the second. And so, so that would be £2,300 and $2,900. Again, if there was no fee reduction, which there usually is. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, Paul. If you'd like to add anything.
No, I think it does, and I think the fees are comparable to what one would be charged at, say, a university at the same level of teaching, and we think the quality of teaching is certainly comparable. And I just want to share with you in that regard our faculty. There we go. Share screen. Okay, so this is the advanced diploma. the core faculty. Obviously, there's myself, as you can see there, and Hassan Spiker is doing his PhD at Cambridge. His other degrees, undergraduate and master's degrees, is the author of a number of excellent scholarly works as well, which are very relevant to the course that he leads. And we have visiting and guest faculty. This is all on the website, bloggingtheologyacademy.com. We have Professor Joseph Lombard, who's an amazing scholar. He got his PhD in Islamic studies from Yale University in America. He studied at many other universities. He's currently Professor of Quranic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Doha in Qatar. And I was actually just there 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's an amazing university, and he's an amazing scholar. Who else is on our faculty? Professor Ali Attai, who perhaps needs little introduction, but he's the Dean of Undergraduate Studies at Zaytuna College in California, of course, and he's a well-known expert on biblical hermeneutics, the New Testament, the Old Testament. He is fluent in biblical Hebrew, New Testament Greek, Arabic, Farsi. He even speaks English, not pretty badly either. So, but he's a specialist in many fields. And last year, I was just amazed. He actually taught on the course. He said that he could, in 2 sessions, he could teach us how to read New Testament Greek in 1 session and biblical Hebrew in another. And he took us from 0 to that great lofty accomplishment. We could actually read the Bible in its original Hebrew language and New Testament Greek as well. And he's a brilliant teacher, and he actually managed to do that live, of course. A very long session, questions, answers. He's a brilliant teacher, as I say. And other people, Dr. Yusuf Chowdhury, PhD in Islamic intellectual history from Cambridge University. He will also be heading up a short course on Islam and history. I'm not quite sure what it would be called yet, but he will be heading up a short course later this year. Mr. Qureshi is a very distinguished academic. He's a barrister at the Inner Temple as well. What did he teach on? And I think he taught about, was it Hegel and Marx and
he taught Hayek and Marx, and that was because he studied PPE at Oxford, which is obviously the very prestigious philosophy, politics, and economics course, which like most British prime ministers have studied. Not that it seems to have done them much good, but in any case, it's a very, very prestigious course where a lot of light is shed on the interrelationships between philosophy, politics, and economics. And so, in the guest lecture last year, he chose kind of the 2 opposite poles of economics: Hayek on the one hand and Marx on the far left, as it were, and really gave an incredible exposition. And within the course of that 2 hours, we went from basically 0 to having a really quite a nuanced and deep understanding of the way that economics really works. So
thank you for that. Other people, Usman Sheikh, we need to update his bio there, because he's not only has he got an MA in biblical studies from London University, it's actually where I went, Heathrow College, same college, an MPhil from Islamic studies and history from Oxford University. He's now doing his PhD at Oxford University as well. He's doing his doctorate there, and he is a Muslim scholar who's a very great specialist in Christianity, particularly New Testament studies, the historical Jesus, early Judaism, and the Gospels, the nature of the Gospels, and so on. So he will be doing a short course on those subjects as well. Dr. Louis Fatui, a lovely guy. He's PhD from Durham University in astronomy, actually, but he's a prolific author and Islamic scholar, and he is a brilliant academic who has written much on the subject of early Christianity, and he gave a session on that as well in the advanced diploma, as did Usman Sheikh, actually. And Mustafa Aziz teaches at Harvard University. He's doing his doctorate there, and you can see his interests there on Platonism, German idealism, Heidegger, and Sufism. And last but not least is Dr. Francesca Bocca. I've already mentioned her. She's PhD in neuroscience from the University of Munich in southern Germany, a diploma in Islamic psychology from Cambridge Muslim College. She's director of the Ibn Rushd Islamic Studies Institute in Italy. It's actually an Italian institute, obviously. And she's just an amazing teacher, actually, as well. So those are our visiting and guest faculty. So I'll just remove that and we'll go back to some questions, which I don't think we have tackled yet. Someone here says, guys, I was late to join. I'm really confused. What is this academy? And can someone explain? Well, one answer would be just to go to our website, bloggingtheologyacademy.com, and you'll see what we're all about. But this evening, we're focusing really on the diploma, the advanced diploma in the Western tradition and Islamic philosophy and theology. And we're very much focusing on that as an advanced level diploma. We're looking at the Western tradition and its philosophy and its theology and its religion in great depth and detail over the 2 semesters with our guest faculty. I head up the course that I'm doing, and Hassan heads up the course he's doing. But we're not in any way caricaturing or distorting what the Western tradition is about. We're trying to understand it as it is with academic rigor, but also from an Islamic metaphysical perspective. We're not just accepting the assumptions, perhaps, that might be assumed in, say, the study of Western philosophy. We really want to look at it from a Muslim metaphysical perspective as well. So that, in a very simplistic summary, it might be what it's about. But do check us out on the website as well. Okay, let's go for another question. Mohammed Saleh asks, how many years are you planning on running the course for? I'd love nothing more to join after my medical degree is over. Yeah, well, you'd be most welcome indeed. Well, it's indefinite. Each year we're rolling out our flagship course, as I've called it, the Advanced Diploma in Western Tradition and Islamic Philosophy and Theology, is a rolling course year after year. But we have these short courses. These are one-off courses. We may well repeat them, of course, but they are meant just to be for this year at this stage. And we'll see about perhaps doing them again next year. So the diploma is definitely, the advanced diploma is our central core course with the other courses we're rolling out as well. So yeah, please do join when you're able to. Hassan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, Cambridge has been going for what, 800 years. So yeah, I expect it'll probably be going in 800 years from now, inshallah.
Well, that's a great aspiration to have, 800 years. Well, I'm sure we'll be around to do that. Yeah, it's really good. Okay. It's another question. Ahmed Ali, what are the avenues for applying knowledge gained from courses in this advanced diploma for students currently engaged in applied science fields from their undergraduate training? That's a very good question. Do you have any thoughts on that, Hassan?
A very, very good question. I think that it really depends on the individual concerned. We have had, last year, we had a large number of students who were working in applied science fields. We could, in principle, put you in touch with them, and obviously we'd have to ask their permission first. But you could pursue that question with them in specific fields. Are you still there, Paul? Or I think I'm live on my own now. That's rather alarming, but in any case, I'll survive. So, I think to a very large extent, it depends upon the particular field that you're in. What I can say in the broadest terms is that what we're teaching when it comes to metaphysics is a subordinated model of the sciences. Now, it's very, very different to the highly fragmented understanding of the relationship between the sciences that tends to dominate today, well, really just does dominate today. It's an understanding of the sciences as all irreducibly interconnected and ultimately rooted in metaphysics. And so, if you go to your, well, I don't know, for your local bookshop actually has a large enough philosophy section for this kind of thing these days, unfortunately, because everything's being dumbed down. But let's say you went to Blackwell's in Oxford or something, and to the philosophy section, you'd find, lots of books on philosophy of biology. You'd find lots of books on philosophy of AI. You'd find lots of books on philosophy of technology. Now, this all makes sense in that subordinated model where, in the traditional scholastic system and the traditional Islamic system, and by scholastic, I mean, the knowledge systems that dominated the Christian Middle Ages, and that, traditionalist Catholics have kept going up until this day. The more specific sciences, the physical sciences, the natural sciences, actually take their principles from metaphysics. It's just that most of the time, because you're not looking at things at that level of depth, and you're not looking at things on such a foundational level, you don't notice that. But when you push the point, you see the precise manner in which the more specific sciences, it's not just natural sciences, but it also happens to include natural sciences, but it also includes ethics and politics and other sciences, actually derive their first principles from metaphysics. So yes, what can it give you? It allows you to integrate your Islamic metaphysical worldview with your actual practice. It allows you to imbue your practice with its ethics. It allows you to imbue its practice with its its purposes. I mean, it's teloi, you'd say in Greek. It's or at least Greek as it's come into English. For any Greek specialist pedants who happen to be, so it's extremely important to, not only on a personal level to be an integrated human being, but also what we hope for, which is that Muslims will actually start to make real contributions to their respective fields, including in the applied science realm, which are informed by their Islamic worldview, and that actually impact others, impact beyond the confessional, because ours is a view of the world which is not one of this split between the religious and the secular. It's not one of fragmentation. It's not one of understanding faith as blind faith, or as fundamentally identitarian. And I think that that's something that you really see in the course of taking the diploma. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to waffle any more than that.
No, that's very helpful. I'm just showing on the screen there. This is, if you go to bloggingtheologyacademy.com, you'll see the application for the BT Academy diploma 2025-26. The online application form can be accessed there. You just click on that link, and there's currently a 20% fee reduction as well. And selected candidates will be invited to an online interview with the BTA admissions committee, including myself, Hassan Spiker. And if you click on the application form, so you can see the various sections there, and a personal statement, actually, which is actually quite important. In no more than 500 words, tell us about your intellectual background and any personal context you feel is irrelevant. What motivates you to go on this course of study, and so on. So that's actually quite an important part of the application process, is to complete that personal statement there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll just go to a couple more questions. Questions we haven't asked, that is. That's a good question. Do any students from the US join? Wondering how the time difference is managed. Yes, they certainly do join from the US.
Yeah, the clear majority of our students are from the US. We don't know exactly why, but it is a very interesting fact. And they're great students, and very, very full of energy and enthusiasm and intelligence. And we managed. The time difference just hasn't been a problem at all. And I don't think there's a single American student for whom it actually turned out to be a problem. There was an Australian student for whom it turned out to be a problem because it was like 4 a.m. or something. It was a bit difficult to manage, but we made arrangements with that individual as well. We gave them access to the videos. Is that fine with you? Are you happy with following up from the videos? And you can still attend office hours. And we even offered that individual office hours outside of the normal times just to try to make it easier. So we are, very much happy in the vast majority of cases, as long as it's something reasonable, of course, for both of us to try to be as accommodating as possible. But no, we've had no difficulties with time zone with the US specifically. And basically what it is it's going to be your morning in a time which works for all three of the American time zones, because you've got your Pacific and your Central and your Eastern, don't you? I am half American, so
literally you are American and you're British. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, wasn't Winston Churchill? Wasn't he born in? No, Boris Johnson was born in New York, wasn't he? Something bizarre like that.
Yeah, there's Boris Johnson. He's an interesting chap, and there's T.S. Eliot, who I'm a bit more keen on.
Oh yeah, a very fun. No, he was actually a British citizen in the end, wasn't he? And I think Winston Churchill, one of his parents was American or something.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know which one. I just thought I'd share this. So BA Academy provides a new kind of educational experience in philosophy and theology. We aspire to provide amongst the most rigorous philosophical and theological educations available. Our diploma equips students with deep and penetrating knowledge of our contemporary context as Muslims in a modern world hitherto dominated by Western philosophical, educational, political, and social frameworks. Increasingly, much evidence suggests that we are moving decisively into a post-liberal, post-unipolar world, very true. And as such, it is especially imperative for Muslims to become far more than mere passive consumers of thought and culture. At BT Academy, we aspire to train the next generation of intellectual shapers of this emerging new world. And to this end, we have carefully crafted our advanced diploma to comprise 2 courses, which together qualify students to comprehend the Western intellectual context with confidence, while simultaneously understanding the Islamic metaphysical alternative, which, though enjoying much overlap with the former, transcends many of the very tensions and aporia which indeed led to the present religious and intellectual impasse that besets the West, an impasse perhaps now best exemplified by the so-called culture wars. So there are 2 courses. The one that I'm heading up, the Bible and Early Christianity, the Western Critical Method, and Islam. So we're looking at early Christianity and its enormous influence and consequences for the history of Europe, Christian Europe, and finally our post-Christian European context, and looking at modern contemporary scholarships, critical analysis of the Bible and the original Christianity, and this extraordinary convergence that we see with the Islamic scriptures, the Quran and the Sunnah. If you click on see course modules, here we are, week 1. Why should we study the Bible in early Christianity? Surely this is just out of date. Who cares? Who cares about early Christianity? Who cares about the Bible? Well, as I'm sure you all know, is incredibly relevant. It's incredibly relevant what's going on in Gaza at the moment, in the occupied territories, people using the Bible, certain Zionist interpretations of the Bible to justify occupation. And then Zionist Christians in America, by far the most numerous kind of group of Zionists very much look to their distorted interpretation of the New Testament and the Old Testament as well. So that's just one reason, a highly relevant political reason. And of course, to understand the West in general, one needs to. The Bible is the single most important book in history for the West. You know, if you want to understand Western history, philosophy, theology, our worldview, even today, this is the single most important book, I think. And as you can see in other weeks, we look at other, I won't go through them all now, but we look at the New Testament forgeries, biblical forgeries, Jewish context of Jesus, the Gospels, and also the remarkable convergence, as I mentioned, between the Jesus of historical research and the Quranic Jesus, actually. We look at James, the brother of Jesus, who's been airbrushed out of history, no longer. There's lots of early sources that tell us about his life and what he represented in terms of Jewish Christianity, hugely important to understand Christianity. And then the second term, we move on to the creeds and the councils and the Reformation, the Renaissance, Reformation, and finishing up with Christian-Muslim relations and world events. And Dr. Francesca actually did the last session on that, a very erudite and fascinating exploration of where are we today in the Muslim Christian world? What's going on there? There's some views. There's me meeting Ali Attai at Zaytuna College a couple of years ago. Must change his photographs. Some of those are dreadful. We'll go back and look at Hassan's course, of course. Metaphysics and Logic in the Islamic and Western Traditions. Meanwhile, metaphysics and logic in the Islamic and Western traditions equip students with advanced logical and philosophical tools from both of these very broad traditions, aiming not merely to provide general culture in the comparative history of philosophy, but rather to train practitioners who have mastered the fundamental principles of philosophy and who will, by the time they graduate, be empowered to pursue further mastery and become the advanced and original authentic Islamic analysts and thinkers our Ummah so urgently needs. And then we go to the course modules. Hassan, do you want to just, I won't go through these myself. Do you want to just summarize them or mention a few salient points of the course modules?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically we have it's metaphysics and logic. We're trying to give a real principle-based approach to metaphysics. Again, it's not just kind of a bit of philosophical culture. We'll, learn a few. We'll learn about Plato's cave, and we'll learn about a few kind of generalizations about Aristotle and Descartes and stuff, and then that's it. It's not that really that at all. So, we want you to be able to do metaphysics. We want you to be able to do philosophy. We want you to be able to take apart a problem and then put it back together again and solve it and analyze it. And so that means we have to give you skills, one of which, of course, is logic and the principles of logical analysis that embraces both. I don't like putting it like this, but there you are: traditional logic and modern logic, including modern symbolic logic, and the I'll just let you know, for example, one of the goals that we have by the end of the logic course, again, it's metaphysics and logic, is that you will be able to understand Gödel's incompleteness theorem from a technical perspective. And, if any of you who are familiar with his theorem know that takes a lot of knowledge and it's very, very technical and intricate. So that's, again, it's not kind of reading a short introduction to, I say that, and actually short introductions by Oxford are really, really difficult. So it's not like some of them are really, really complex, including the one on Gödel's theorem, actually. So that was not a good example. What I'm saying is, it's not like a really, really basic introductory course where you're just going to learn about the thing. You're really going to get into the nitty-gritty. Another thing that we do are close readings of classic core philosophical texts. So you can see there, for example, Plato's Phaedo. You've got Plotinus on dialectic, for example, and these are close readings where you go through it's not just speed reading and then again making a few generalizations. It's actually unpacking the structure of the sentences and extracting the arguments. And then you have historical sketches, which is where we provide historical overviews of these various moments in philosophical history and their particular historical contexts, which is very, very important really to understand the philosophy often. There's an awful lot there that we try to the extent possible to provide a comprehensive account of the history of Western philosophy, relate it to the history of Islamic philosophy. It's a highly ambitious course. Again, the similarly awful photos of myself. The goal at the end is really that you are on the road to becoming a practitioner of philosophy. I wouldn't say that we should promise that you will be one, but it's certainly putting you on the road to that goal in a very real sense.
Thank you for that. Okay, let me just look at any more questions now. This is definitely a question for you, Hassan, I think. Good guy asks.
Isa Roji is one of the texts that we use quite extensively. I should say that if you have Arabic, it's great, but you don't have to have Arabic. But I'm not saying you'll be at a disadvantage if you don't have it. But what I'm saying is, if you have Islamic sciences in Arabic already, when you take the Metaphysics and Logic course, you'll progress in your traditional Islamic studies in Arabic, and that doesn't. I didn't know if it was going to work until we did last year, but it did work. So those who have that, because I refer to the Arabic, you're going to progress in your Islamic studies. Well, when it comes to the Aqliyat, which is obviously mantiq, logic, and kalam, theology, and so on, you're going to progress through this course. It's going to be related to already existing knowledge. But the great thing is, those who don't have, which is the majority, who don't have traditional Islamic studies in Arabic, didn't even notice that was happening, because every single thing is translated into English, tailored to the English speaker, and totally focused on it. It's just that because when let's say I'm reading the translation from Isa Roji, I will keep on referring to the Arabic and how it relates to the Arabic. You say, will it be sufficient? I mean, those are not requirements. You don't have to have done traditional Islamic studies to join the course. But I would say in most cases, it's been a help, not a hindrance. But I should say also, I can envisage cases in which it could be a hindrance, because if anyone were to come, and I'm making this as a very general point, which I think would be helpful to all sorts of applicants from all sorts of different backgrounds. If you come expecting this to be a traditional Aqliyat, rational sciences seminary, it's not. And so if you're trying to kind of force everything into that mold all the way through, it's not going to work. So, I'm just saying, the way you've stated it, is it sufficient to join? Well, those aren't requirements in the first place. Would it be a help rather than a hindrance? Probably. Yeah. Probably be helpful.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, Abdul Makid Perzada, how to contact you, sir? Well, this is the answer: admissions at bloggingtheologyacademy.com, or just go on the bloggingtheologyacademy.com website and you'll see how to contact us, a contact page. But that's the email address if you want it now: admissions at bloggingtheologyacademy.com. .com, where Ahmed, our head of admin, will be able to respond to any queries you have. Another question is, will there be a session in 2026, 27? Inshallah, yes, inshallah, there will be. Our advanced diploma is a rolling course that inshallah will recur each year. The short courses, we'll have to see if they recur next year, but the flagship course certainly continues, inshallah, indefinitely, really. And as you can see there, that's from the website. Our advanced diploma is composed of two complementary cutting-edge courses. They're both together. They make up the diploma. The one I head up, the Bible and Early Christianity, the historical critical method in Islam, and Hassan's Metaphysics and Logic in the Islamic and Western tradition. So if you go on that website, you can see more about the course, this particular course, and how to apply as well. Okay, so there we go. I think that's all the questions that I can see, I think. Yeah, that's all the questions I can see. So we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. We didn't actually set a parameter for the beginning and end of this session, so it's very open-ended depending on how many people wanted to ask questions, really. If anyone does have any more questions, please put them in the comments section and we will do our best to answer them. So yeah, I think that just scrolling through, you can watch the new BT Academy film, directed and produced by award-winning filmmaker Mohammed Khazir and featuring myself and Hassan Spiker, the Dean. A lovely, lovely film. A paradigm shift in Islamic education. And BT Academy's world-leading AI course for Muslims. It's a short course. Applications are now open for that. Be mentored by a world expert on AI. This is all live. There's no recorded stuff. It's all personal and office hours, as I call it, individual one-to-one tuition. Applications now open. The course is taught by Dr. Yaqub Chowdhury of the University of Cambridge. If you click on that link, it takes you straight to Cambridge University's website, and you can read about his credentials, his biography, his expertise, both as a scientist and also as a theoretician, as a mathematician, as well as a metaphysician. Both are extremely relevant to the subject of AI, and there's a lot of stuff there about what you can expect and the background to it, and you can apply now for that as well. Yeah. So there we go. So I'll just see if there's any new questions. Thank you for your kind words, by the way, folks. Very sweet of you. Hassan, what do you think we should do now? Should we continue, or do you think we should naturally wrap it up here?
Yeah, I think we covered an awful lot of really good stuff tonight, and quite a comprehensive list of questions. I did see one question saying, is this a zero to hero course? Or do you expect...
Oh, I missed that. There you go. Yes, good question.
This was quite a good question. Perhaps we can end with this one. I think that foundational knowledge would be, a little bit of foundational knowledge would be preferred. It's going to help you to follow. However, it's not a strict requirement. We had all sorts of really good students who had very, very different answers to this question throughout last year. The ones who lacked any foundational knowledge at all did struggle a bit at the beginning. And what we did, and they reached out and we said, come to office hours and we'll sort this out. We'll talk through these issues. I'll tutor you on certain things that you feel that you've missed or that you're not following. There was one particular individual who was someone who was quite an experienced professional in the world of AI, probably been working in the field at top level for 20, 30 years. And he was really interested in philosophy and theology, but he really felt that he lacked this foundational knowledge. And we kept on following up on that and making sure that he was getting what he needed outside of the live lectures in order to be able to fill in the gaps. And he reported that by the end of the year, he got it. He felt that it all clicked for him. And I was really, really happy that he not only he'd put in the effort, but it had worked. We'd been able to address the gaps that he felt that he had in his background. So yes, it can help. There are people who come into the course who are doing, don't ask me why, but it tell you something actually about how unique this course is. We shouldn't be too self-deprecating, but who are actually doing PhDs in philosophy at Harvard now. Yeah. So it's all the way from someone who's in that situation to someone who really doesn't have any foundational knowledge in philosophy and theology at all, and they're in the same classroom, and by the end we get you up to speed. So but I should say that does depend upon you using the resources. I'm not saying about you because I don't know, but you, Yahya, yours particularly, but it does depend on the student using the available resources and services that we offer. So if you're not going to turn up to office hours and you're not going to tell me that you are not able to keep up with what's going on, and that you're completely at sea, then obviously we can't really help you. But I think if a student does reach out and does use all of the available resources, then it's ultimately going to work out, I think. Inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, I also just want to mention this course as well. Yeah, there we go. It's up there. Oh, yeah. This is the pre-diploma for those who feel they need a more foundational course, an entry route for individuals who are interested in the advanced diploma, but feel they need a basic foundational level of knowledge of Islam and Western thought before enrolling on the more high-level course, because it is a high-level course. Definitely, it ranges from undergraduate to postgraduate, depending on the week, really, depending on exactly what we're looking at. So this is also on the website. This is actually run by Dr. Francesca, the brilliant Italian scholar. She's bilingual, she speaks English perfectly. And if you look at this pre-diploma Foundations, Islamic Science and History, it's on Sundays at 3 p.m. Roman time. Obviously, she's in Italy. It's an extraordinary syllabus, actually. I remember when I first saw this, how impressed I was. Week 1, what is Islam? Okay, basic question. Internal and external definitions, the problem of language, and so on. As just a reading, Thomas Bauer, The Culture of Ambiguity. This is an amazing book written by a German academic, which I've read. It's really important work. And right at the beginning, she's introducing people to very interesting thoughts, actually. Week 2, Revival and Reform. Well, you can see for yourself on the website, the history of fiqh, Aqidah and Kalam, schools of Aqidah, from 6 pillars to 70 branches, the questions of orthodoxy, psychology and Sufism, art, culture, history, Arabs before Islam, the rightly guided caliphs, the Umayyads, the Abbasids, the words of Islam in China, crusades, invasions, Ottomans, colonization, decolonization, the contemporary world, review of semester, Q&A. So this is a very interesting syllabus, actually. I wouldn't mind doing it myself. And all taught by this outstanding scholar, actually. He has an extraordinary grasp of these subjects. In fact, she does actually teach in Italian. So this is actually a syllabus she has adapted from her Italian academic teaching in Italy, obviously. So I think that's very exciting as well. So this are people who really feel they need that basic fundamental introduction before that. This is quite good. There you are, Hassan. It's about you.
Thank you. I suppose I'm not sure quite what it means, but thank you. Yes.
I think it's a compliment. I think you can be saying.
Thank you. Yeah, you're a boss as well.
That's very sweet. Postman Pat Finland, thank you very much for your kind words even. Abdullah, bless you. Allah bless you. And bless you too. That's very kind. Just scrolling through. And salam to you. Welcome, salam to you. So I think that might be it. I think this is a good time to move on. A slight confession to me. I demonstrated rather my appalling technical ignorance before we started, which was why we started several minutes late, about how to set up the live stream. I do it so infrequently, but the last time I did it, my producer actually set it up, and so I didn't bother to master the mysteries. It's not a mystery at all. It's actually very straightforward.
It worked out amazingly well, yeah.
It worked out, but my apologies to Hassan for that initial stress that I inadvertently caused by my incompetence. But inshallah, having done this now, I feel much more relaxed and confident that, and I must do on a more general BT, blogging theology kind of thing. I really need to do more live streams anyway. I do enjoy them, and I don't know why I haven't done them much really. I don't know. There's no excuse. I just haven't got around to doing it. But and that will really, solidify my learning experience of how to do this. It's all about navigating between StreamYard and YouTube. I got mixed up or confused, which is not surprising. So I think that's probably it. Please, everyone, do have a look at the website, bloggingtheologyacademy.com. Have a look at the syllabus, have a look at the application process, learn more about what the courses are about. I think I can speak for Hassan when we say Hassan and I really enjoy meeting the students, talking to them. We learn a lot ourselves in the research we do in preparation for the course, for the semesters. And we take great pleasure. And it's an honor, actually. And for me, it's a privilege to welcome these faculty academics we have, like Professor Lombard and Ali Attai, and so many others who give of their time to teach occasionally on the course as well. So it's great, and I'm very grateful to God for making Blogging Theology Academy a success so far for the last academic year, and inshallah it will continue to be of service to the Ummah and for all of us going forward, inshallah. So I think that's kind of it by now. Any final words, Hassan, before we conclude?
Yeah, I just echo what Paul said. BT Academy really has been an extraordinary success. It kind of took us by surprise. That's mostly because of the students. We've had really amazing students who've been really inspiring on so many different levels, intellectually, spiritually, on the level of adab. And we're just really looking forward to meeting you as well. Very much encourage you to go and apply now, not to be too pushy, but after Taraweeh maybe. And you don't have much time. That's all I'd say. We're kind of right at the end of the admission cycle, so that's why we thought we'd hold this little gathering. And we're just very much looking forward to meeting you.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. And I haven't discussed this with Hassan yet, but I'm actually up for another live stream in a couple of weeks. But great idea. We'll see if okay, there we go. We'll see if Hassan and I can coordinate our diaries. I'm sure we can, because I feel much more confident that I can pull it off now, technically speaking. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Salam alaikum, and have a good evening, and we'll see you again soon, inshallah. So salam alaikum.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Salam alaikum.